Well, how we met, it was actually about 10 or 11 years back. I was doing some training at Fort Gordon.
I had just finished my freshman year of college at Georgia State, and I had come home to Augusta for the summer, and I was looking for summer employment. And I had a job interview at Athie's in the food court at Taco John's.
So I was sitting down eating, and I looked over and I glanced and I saw this girl with these big brown eyes. So I told the guy I was sitting with, I said, man, she looked cute. I need to go over and talk to her.
So I had my interview, finished with that. I was in the food court.
So finally, I got up the courage, got up the nerve. I got my Billy D. Williams lines down, then went over.
I got up, got ready to leave, and I was walking towards my car, and this guy was saying, excuse me, excuse me, excuse me.
Miss, excuse me, miss, excuse me, miss. And she didn't answer, so I started to think that she was deaf.
And so I kept walking. You know, I was used to being in Atlanta and walking down Peachtree Street, you know, people all kind of, what's up, shawty?
And then she finally turned back and looked at me and just stared.
He looked at me and didn't say nothing. So I was like, okay.
And the only thing I could say was, so you looking for a job?
I don't even remember what he said.
And I was just blank stare, but I bounced back strong.
He asked for my number, and I said, you know, I don't know you. You could be a murderer or a rapist.
She took my number, and then she called me shortly after.
I called him maybe about a week or a few days later.
And then the rest was history.
I don't think it was love at first sight. I think I was just wondering why he kept saying, excuse me, ma'am, excuse me, excuse me.
Love at first sight, I wouldn't necessarily say it was love at first sight. She had something that was special.
We definitely became friends and built a very lasting friendship.
I mean, I just thought she was a cool person, and it was weird because once I met her at Fort Gordon and she came to my apartment, she didn't look like the person that I thought I saw.
Come on now. When we interacted initially, we were just real cool. I would come over to his apartment because I got tired of being cramped up in the dorms and dealing with roommates and whatnot. So I would go visit his apartment in Cobb County and just chill out, and we would watch TV.
We had a tendency of, she would come to my apartment and, just generally hang out. We would watch,
watching
Flavor
Flav at the time, and we would eat chips, or I would eat chips, and just kind of kick it and chill out. So I really enjoyed his vibe and the fact that I could talk to him about anything. And he was always making me laugh. I'm sure he'll say something different, but he claims that we went out to this Mexican restaurant.
Our first date, man, was actually, we went to Don Pablo's out in Cobb County.
But I think we were just kicking it and cooling, and I don't really think we had a first date.
Yeah, I don't know if she was ashamed for me. She didn't want to be out in public with me or something like that.
I wasn't eating or speaking.
It wasn't the best date. I mean, she didn't eat for some reason. She wasn't talkative. She didn't give a lot of feedback. I don't know whether she had a bad day or she had a boo-boo.
I don't really recall a first date per se.
It just wasn't a good date. If I didn't know her previously, we would have never went out on the second date.
Yeah, I don't remember that. I really enjoyed his sense of humor. He was always he has a very carefree, kind of everything is going to work out, don't worry about it, laid back personality. And he was always goofing around and playing and trying to make me laugh. And I really enjoyed that about him. He has a really great sense of humor.
Quality that stood out the most with Kayla is she has these big, round, voluptuous eyes. That's what stands out the most. That's what I gravitated to, and that's what keeps me in is her eyes. I'm just a sucker for her brown eyes.
We've been very supportive of one another, and I know he's been very patient with me. I've always had and always have been pursuing dreams and goals. It all started with college and getting through college and then getting through law school.
Probably the most memorable moment for us was when she accepted, or she was cool with the decision for me to work out of state when we relocated from Fort McPherson to Fort Bragg.
And he had to move to North Carolina for a couple of years, and I was holding down the fort here in Atlanta for a little while. And so I knew that he had to go off and support his dream and his mission in North Carolina.
That was the first time that she literally cried, like the day of whenever we was leaving, we was packing up, loading up, and like she literally cried. And Kayla is like a tough, strong person, and you know, seeing her cry, that's when I knew I got her.
And he knows that I have big dreams, and that I'm not just stopping with just becoming an attorney. So he gives me my space to kind of go out and pursue my visions and my goals, and I really appreciate that.
I always told Kayla when we first started to get serious, or when we first started dating, that, you know, we're on the same highway, but we're in different vehicles. And in order for us to get somewhere, one of us is going to have to get in the same vehicle and take turns driving. And that's kind of the method that we take now, is one person is in charge and the other person is kind of like driving and helping the other person get to where we need to go. So, and also, you know, when life changes, different people grow. So you got to be willing to accept how people change and accept how people grow into the person that they are. So, you know, and just try to be as less stressful as possible.
So I love that I can completely be myself around dude. I don't have to put on any airs or dress or act a certain kind of way, because I can just be me. And I think it's really important that when you're with somebody and you're supposed to be marrying somebody, you're supposed to just be comfortable with just being who you are. And he was the first guy that I met that I could just be myself around completely. And he's seen me at my best, at my worst, and he still wants to hang out with me. And obviously he still wants to marry me, so it must be all good. There isn't one specific moment that I can recall that I just knew that I was going to marry dude. It was just a natural progression of a culmination of things, of both of us being at the right place at the right time and being in the right mindset. And we had been together for 7 years, friends for 10. 7 of those years we've actually been in a relationship, and so it was just, we both felt like it was time for us to get married.
Yeah, I think most people don't believe this, but I was ready long before Kayla was ready to get married. But the defining moment for us where I knew that I wanted to marry her was when I returned back from overseas. And she actually told me she was dating another person. And, you know, I was like, okay, that's cool. But she told me, even though that she's dating that person, I would always be the special person in her life. So I knew then when she said that, I was gonna get her.